Of this, where you indicated there hasn't been as much progress. When President Bush announced the troop surge in January, he said he wanted to give the Iraqi politicians some breathing space to pass laws of national reconciliation. You said much the same thing about Prime Minister Maliki right here 6 months before that. Let's take a look.
I think we need to give him a little breathing space, a little chance here, and I think you're going to see very good things from this government. When they get it right, and they will get it right, everybody will forget how long it took them.
Madam Secretary, it's now been 15 months since Maliki took over. It's been 7 months since the surge began. I know, as you just mentioned, there has been some progress in the provinces where some of the Sunni sheikhs have turned against al-Qaeda. But I want to ask you specifically about Baghdad. How do you explain the total failure over 15 months of the central government, the failure to pass any of these key laws of national reconciliation?
Well, Chris, these key laws go right to the heart of what kind of Iraq it's going to be, and it's hard. They could have passed these laws by majority votes. There's no doubt that they have enough votes in coalition to pass a national oil law, that they could pass de-Baathification laws. They could do that, but they're trying to do this by consensus. They're trying to do it in a way that brings all Iraqis together, regardless of what sectarian or what confessional group they come from. And that's very, very hard. But it's not inconsequential that these very powerful party leaders are represented in this Presidency Council, that they're using this structure of the Presidency Council plus the Prime Minister to try and forge a compromise on some of these issues. It's not inconsequential that money is really now starting to flow from the center into the provinces, which will help the reconciliation that is happening from the localities upward and from the national government downward. They do need to make more progress.
May I interrupt, Madam Secretary?
Well, let me just say, Chris, they need to make more progress, but we shouldn't forget that they are, in fact, taking on some of these very, very difficult challenges at the leadership level.
So I want to make sure, because I've not heard this before. You're saying that the Iraqi parliament could pass the de-Baathification law, the oil revenue law, and they've chosen not to do that because they want to get more of a consensus?
Chris, I said that I think that if they just took a majority vote, they could probably get through a national oil reconciliation law, but it would not have the support of all of the groups that are trying to do this. And so they're trying to do a national oil reconciliation law that really brings all the parties together. They don't want a 51-49 on constitutional reform. They want to try and bring this about in a way that brings all of the important groups together. Well, and I think that that makes a lot of sense.
If they're so busy in trying to build a consensus, how do you defend the fact that the Iraqi parliament is taking the month of August off because it's too hot, while at the same time U.S. soldiers in full battle gear continue to patrol the streets of Baghdad?
Well, the leadership is not on recess, and the Presidency Council and the Prime Minister are still working. This is a parliamentary system, Chris, and underneath the Council of Representatives there are important party interests that are working to try to forge consensus so that when it goes to the Council of Representatives, it has an opportunity to pass. It's difficult work. It's difficult work to define how you're going to divide the resources of the country, the national oil resources of the country. It's difficult work to decide how you're going to deal with the past of the Ba'ath Party. It's difficult work to decide how you're going to reform the Constitution. We've been very clear that we don't think that they have achieved enough and that they need to work harder. We've been very clear that there is urgency to this, and the President, when he speaks to these leaders, when I speak to them, when all of us speak to them, we tell them that. But we shouldn't simply dismiss the efforts that they're making to try to bring about a national consensus on these very important issues, and we shouldn't dismiss the work that they're doing to bring budget resources to the localities so that when Iraq emerges, it emerges as a place that has the support of all of its people. And again, Chris, on what is happening in Anbar, we're not just talking about a few local sheikhs coming over to the side of the coalition. We're talking about what used to be called the Sunni Triangle, this place in which al-Qaeda was strongest. We're talking about these people deciding that they're going to take back their streets from al-Qaeda, they're going to take back their streets from terrorism, and they're going to do it in cooperation with the United States. That is a major development, not a